is now vanishing because they found the piti of what? Food.
And they, is there anything to say about they?
These beings?
Yeah.
These beings, what do you mean? What do I have?
You said they, so I was just curious if there's anything to
So
say.
from their radiant existence, they evolved to this stage of having a physical body. Because, food requires a physical body. Not that they themselves created it, it just was conditioned to arise that way, that they were associating. So this is a thing that the Buddha takes, different time sensitive words. He says, it took millions of years for them to even do that thing. So it takes that time it should take. And then they started enjoying the tasty earth, and slowly different things arise, and they all start consuming those things.
The other thing was ayam, the other part of the first word.
Ayam means this.
This, okay.
This sansara. So let me make the connection here. Oh, not there. So Anumitago ayam sansaro Pikave Pubba Koti Napanyati. This sansara is beginningless, O monks. The beginning is not known. So Koti basically is like the edge. So well, I would say if you were to say this is one Koti. One start from it, and then it goes and ends here. So Koti is this. It's a Pali word, you can find that in a dictionary. Pubba. So Pubba Koti. So these are basically two words, like early, beginning. That kind of a meaning. Pubba means, like I said, are you saying Pubba Bhaga in your chanting? Right? Pubba Bhaga means early day. Like Pubba Bhaga Namakara Karoni or something. Yeah, so Pubba means early. Koti means beginning. Finding the beginning. Something is ringing. There.
Lee.
It's my phone.
Okay.
At least it's not barking. If it's on regular ring, it would be barking.
So, in these beings, now you have, I think, you might have questions about how did the sun and moon appear, right? At this time of the universe, the tasty earth starts to melt because the sun and moon also start to form. And when sun and moon start to form, well, the sun appears and the moon obviously appears. The sun's starting to affect this whole thing, and then because of the sunlight and other things, different green stuff start to appear. Right, on this earth, and those people, they, whatever they were, now the tasty earth obviously disappears because of the sun's impact, and different sprouts arise. The first kind of thing that arose is a thing called Bhumi Pappataka. It's a kind of a mushroom, Now, how do I know these things? I had to study this for my undergraduate studies.
That's spelled different than the boomies, the powers, right? Boomy, the powers is spelled different, right?
Bhumi for what?
The boomies, that the 5 faculties turn into the 5 powers. Boomies, or is that right? No, that's balas. I'm sorry. The
Balas.
boomies. I'm talking. That's Mahayana. Sorry, I was confused there.
No problem. So Bhumi really is the earth. Bhumi is the ground. Pataka, it's like mushroom, ground mushrooms. Of course, they grow in ground. So we still eat mushrooms, right? Some of them are poisonous, some of them are good. People like to eat them. And then when it disappears, something called badalata, a kind of a vine that grows really high. Badalata, a vine. Do you want to put that into silence, Dr.?
I think that's a hit, Lee.
They are trying to reach you, maybe you will answer. This is you get the meaning of wine, right? Not wine that you drink. Like creepers, right?
But with the
V.
V, right? Yeah.
Oh, V, that's right. Not
Vine
this.
comes from vine.
This is that goes around trees, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that. Wines.
Doesn't usually
Vines.
stand on its own.
Huh?
Vines.
Wines? Vines. Vines. Thank you. So, and yes.
How do we get back to the chocolate earth?
No, that melted and gone.
Follow the vine.
This is the tasty center.
Chocolate vines.
So and then what comes is people start consuming this and then consuming that, and then that too disappears, and what is next is a kind of a rice that's husk free rice that you can consume because it doesn't have a husk, that it is edible just off the plant. Swayam Jata. Toshita, have you heard this story before?
No, I'm very, very fascinated.
Good. Swayam Jata. Swayam Jata, Swayam means autonomous, not autonomous, but Swayam means Swayam Jata, they themselves arose, not planted by people. Okay? Yeah, spontaneous rice. Thank you for that.
Or wild.
It is a wife.
Wild, yeah, but, yeah, that means something different here. It's wild rice, it's not actually a rice.
Yeah, wild rice basically, but consumable immediately. And then people were, this gets very interesting at this point, that they started getting greedy about rice fields. That somebody go and say, this part is mine, don't eat from there. This part is mine, don't eat from there. And then somebody else go in here and say, that whole thing is mine. Up to this mountain is mine. So people started getting more greedy and fighting. And then they were also getting interested in between men and women, so they needed shelters that for them to hide when they make love. That became a need. And because they were fighting for different lands, they needed a leader to solve their problems. And when the leader solved problems, in return, in gratitude, they gave some rice to him. So the leader kind of started depending on all these things that people offered. He did not have to do his own farming because they sometimes even gave huge lands in gratitude. Now their problem is solved, take this part of mine. So the leader already started inheriting more land and more wealth. He was called Mahasammata. Mahasammata means agreed by everybody. He is the leader. Sammata means agreed upon. Maha means the majority. Agreed by the majority that he is the leader. And the Buddha pins down this story to how did different castes arose. Why we have a caste system in India. And he says some people started stealing, they were called Shudras. Some people started, trading, doing business, they were called Vaishyas. Caste system. You must have studied that in your Buddhism class, right? You have 4 castes. One is Brahmana. One is Kshatriya. Kshatriya means someone who does farming and that they have a lot of lands. They are also the rulers. These are prominently advisors, rulers, and Vaishya. This is another caste. They are traders, and then Shudra. Shudra are those that are called low caste people. And the Buddha says they were low caste because of the low things they did, like they did mean stuff like stealing from others. But in Indian society, these guys came to control everybody, that they had a lot of, they were saying they are the closest connection to God and they can advise the king, business people, and these low caste people should serve them. And when it came to that social system, people felt suppressed. And though anybody who was born into any of these clans, like some of these were sweepers, and anybody born into sweepers family has to be a sweeper, and some of them were those that washed the clothes, and if you are born into that family you have to be doing only that. Some people are drummers and you have to be just doing that. And the Buddha said, no, anybody who wants to be an educated Brahmin, even from this caste, has the ability to do that. So this was a social reformist role that the Buddha played. He could do that because he came from a upper class, Kshatriya class. He is a ruler. Buddha was one like that. And I met this in Cambridge. Met this Dalit, a friend, happened to be my neighbor also. He said he is interested in Buddhism and he is Buddhist because of Ambedkar. Ambedkar is kind of another reformist in India who kind of brought back Buddhist principles to people. We are going past 1 hour, but I will give you a longer break. I wanted to continue this thread. So he said he's low caste, he's Dalit, but he doesn't want anybody to become the Buddha in his, from his social class, because nobody will listen to him. If you are a Buddha, you have to be one from this. That's why the Buddha did 5 observations before he was born into this family. He looked at the time, he looked at the, the land where he is born, the area and the social class of the mother and the particular mother he will be born to. So he looked at 5 things before he was born. While in heaven he observed where he should be born. And if he was born in any lower class, he will not enjoy much wealth. It's a huge, big society, so whatever the social norms are adapted by majority. So these guys went to, in the beginning they went to dhyana. Means they didn't like any of these stuff, no properties, no wealth or anything. They started meditating. And some of them gave up halfway and came back and started teaching. They became adhyana. Adhyana means study. So that's what we do, study. Adhyana. Adhyana, you see the opposite of dhyana is adhyana. Not dhyana, but adhyana. But you study now. And you start teaching. So here we are doing that. Studying, not meditating. So that's the Buddhist genesis. Social classes reformed, and now we are in a period, we don't know where we are in the universal calendar, but there is, fear among people that world is going to end. Like in 2009 there was that fear, and every now and then people are conscious about this world is having a huge, in Buddhist discourses, in different discourses, the Buddha talking about, so I think in Suryodgamana Sutra, the Buddha talks about 7 suns appearing, like different planetary systems burning and affecting our existence here, and the core is shaken and start to burn, and people no longer can hold or bear any of that. Our technology is not built to withstand anything like that, and we also get consumed by 4 elements. And where do we exist? We don't really have the ability to stay in the physical form, so we go back to the space dwellers existence. We start to dwell as space dwellers. So be ready, be prepared for that. Anyway, let's take a break. It's a good discussion this morning.